So what if he's a moth? So what if he's technically a bug? I would have ended up on World Star because I would have blacked the fuck out. Because what the hell do you fucking mean? Hi besties, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel. It is officially February. Is it a week into February? Almost, but I am here to give you the January wrap up because I did in fact read, and if you've missed my beginning of the year book tag, my goal is to read 200 books this year. In January, I read 6 books, so let's talk about it. And as always, the first thing we're gonna do is yap about stats. As I've mentioned, I've read 6 books. Of those 6 books that I read, I gave 3 stars, I gave 2 4 stars, and I gave 1 5 star. That feels pretty on par with the amount of books that I want to read this year, so those stats don't surprise me at all. My average rating for January reads was 3.67. Some general stats. I listened to 4 audiobooks, I read 1 ebook, and I read 1 physical book. Of the 6 books that I read 5 romances, 1 horror, and the number of books that I read, this is a new stat, the number of TBR books that I read was 1. So what I'll be doing moving forward is in my monthly wrap-ups, I will reflect on my monthly TBR and see how many books off of that TBR I read. This month, it was 1, maybe 1.5 if we count the DNF, because I did have a singular DNF this year. January does in fact feel like it was an entire fucking year. This month, and that was my best friend's honeymoon, my Meryl Wisner, where I just realized perhaps this is not the author for me. I don't particularly love their writing style or their character work, and so I am saying goodbye. That's the basics of what you need to know. Those are the stats, so let's get into the books that I read in order of highest rating to lowest rating. My 5-star read of January was Not the Witch You Wed. I loved this book so much. So in this story, we are following a woman who is a witch. She is a triplet, and she's part of like this magical society. Essentially, they have something called the Prima, and the Prima is her grandmother. And she is the oldest, technically, of the triplets, but she spent her whole life being the magicless Maxwell because she doesn't have any magic. And when she was a teenager, she was in a relationship with this werewolf Shifter, and he completely broke her heart. She is at her sister's like engagement and party where she sees the boy who broke her heart, obviously now a grown man. Their banter and tension is immediate. It is so funny. And he is grown up now. He is the alpha of the North American pack. All North American werewolves, that is his pack. My boy is dominant. And I love that for him. I actually really enjoy the relationships and the magic system in this world. It is essentially our world, and they are living in New York City, but there's magic and shifters and beings and werewolves and all the things. Shifters is the appropriate term because they're different kind of shifters. And it was just really cute, and I just loved it so much. And if you know me, I love a soft little fluffy romance, and that is exactly what this was. But content warnings for mention of an abusive parent. My next highest would be I Married a Mothman by Regine Abel. That is a surprise to literally no one. That's my water bottle I just knocked over. That's a surprise to literally no one because I love the Prime Mating series, and this is a book in the Prime Mating series. In this book, we are following Venus, I think. She is an intergalactic diplomat, and she is coming home from visiting her sister, the one who married the Naga, and I married a Naga, and she's on this cruise ship home where my phone storage said, fuck you. Anyway, she gets this tingling sense that there's some kind of being like on the ship that should be. It's essentially communicating with her, and she finds a smuggler. And what this smuggler is doing is actually taking this godlike being from this planet of moth people that's essentially their reincarnated like god deity, and they now have this bond. She's essentially been chosen as his protector. So she has to go to the moth people planet, and there can't be too much interference or intervention from like the Intergalactic Council because they shouldn't know that aliens exist because they're not as advanced. The equivalent of like what Earth would be now is what this planet is. So she has to go there, and she's only allowed to stay on that planet to be the protector of the prism if she is one of the people, one of the moth people. And she can be that via marriage. So she ends up marrying Atlas, who is the head of the Black Guard, and you are following their love story and also them trying to explain this phenomenon that's happening on their planet that their people don't really understand, but use essentially sacrifice monochromatics and achromatic moth people to this thing. They're trying to stop that, okay? What just makes this book so interesting is that I love sci-fi adventures. I love the political intrigue of it. And the magic system on this planet was really, really interesting. And as always, Regine really just gives you the soft hero that you want with the powerful badass woman, and that is exactly my fucking thing. And I lived, laughed, loved it. What I will tell you is, so what if he's a moth? So what if he's technically a bug? You know what he does for her? She loves getting her nails done and getting her pedicures done. They don't have that on his planet. So he ends up taking hundreds of hours of courses that he had to like smuggle from the intergalactic like Federation people that he could learn how to paint her nails. Again, so what if he's a moth? Next, I have Let's Call a Truce by Amy Buchanan. This is a enemies to lovers workplace romance, although I would really say like rivals to lovers. So we're following Ben and Juliana. It is set in Orlando, and Juliana has unexpectedly lost her husband. This doesn't happen like in the story, but it is a setup to the story, and she's now a single mother to her 2 daughters, and she's re-entering the workforce. On her very first day, she overhears this man essentially say, kids aren't my problem, like I don't think she should have this job if she can't like keep up with her meetings. Juliana overhears that and rightfully decides that this man is a piece of shit and she's gonna ruin his fucking life. Again, I love a petty bitch. So for the next couple of years, they like get on each other's nerves, and we're picking back up with them when they're starting to like come to terms because they share the same best friend and they're going to call a truce. You're following the development of their romantic relationship, but you're really exploring Juliana's grief and what she has dealt with in the loss of her husband and trying to raise their daughters without him. And that's something she never thought that she would have to do, as well as her complicated feelings around falling in love again and trying to come to terms with like who Ben is and the context of why he said what he said. This was a 4-star read, not a 5-star read, specifically because of the third act conflict. I understand that Juliana has different actions, and this did not ruin the story for me by any means. However, if Ben did to me what he did to Juliana, there is no amount of groveling this man could have done to get me to forgive him. In fact, Juliana is a better woman than I am, because I would have knocked that man's teeth out of his fucking head at that soccer game. I would have ended up on World Star because I would have blacked the fuck out. Because what the hell do you fucking mean? In the words of Beyonce, trust is like a mirror. You can fix it if it's broken, but you can still see the cracks in that motherfucking reflection. And he shattered that mirror a little bit too thoroughly. So that is the reason why it was a 4-star read and not a 5, but I still really loved it. Was a huge fan of the writing style, character development, and just pacing of the story overall. That's how I feel about it, but I still really loved it. And of course, as you all know, or if you don't know, I do know Amy personally, so I want to disclaim that bias within myself, that obviously my positive feelings for her are subconsciously influencing my review. Consciously, I feel the way I feel about it. Subconsciously, of course, that's going to influence my perspective. Happy Medium. We're following my girl, who's a scammer. She is out here to steal your money. Mrs. Steal Your Bitch. By your bitch, I mean your wallet. That's what she's here to do. She is, in fact, pretending to be a psychic medium and scamming people out of their money, but she finds justifications for it. She's like, you know what? I only ever do it if I think I'm going to help them with this, and if I can't help them, then like they can't be one of my clients. However, she's offered an obscene amount of money to go do like a house exorcism cleansing for a friend of one of her clients. She goes and she does this, expecting the person to to be like just this old man because her client is 60 something and her friend is her bridge partner and an old man. In fact, he is around her age and he's a super hot farmer who recognizes right away that she is a lying, scamming ass bitch. Here is my problem with the story. Obviously, as the reader, we know that. He was so adamant that he low-key treated her like shit. It's like, you don't have any proof that she's a scamming, lying ass bitch. Yes, that is true, but you don't have proof of it, and therefore you don't have the right to treat her that way. And even if she was a lying, scamming ass bitch, you still don't have the right to treat her that way. And for that reason, I couldn't really get on board with him. Like, I was fine with their relationship, but I wasn't thinking, y'all are soulmates, you two should be together. There were times where I tee-hee and laughed and kicked my feet and giggled, but mostly it was fine. However, Everett the Ghost, I did like him a lot. He was funny, and I low-key wanted him and Gretchen to be together. I was like, give me the paranormal romance. Farmer guy can be chill over there. He needs to get his shit together and go to therapy before he comes back into this relationship. My roommate is a vampire. I gave this one 3 stars, and this is the story of a woman. She's really broke and lost and like literally getting evicted from her apartment and has no fucking money. So she finds an ad one day for a bedroom with a roommate in this super luxurious apartment building that's only $200. In Chicago. She's like, obviously the man is a serial killer, but I'm desperate and I need a place to live. So she agrees to move in with him. And yes, Frederick the vampire is super fucking weird. However, rent is cheap. Obviously, this is a fictional story and this is a romance. So Frederick and Cassie, something like that, end up falling in love. And yes, he is a vampire, and he is a vampire who needs help navigating the modern world due to a curse. This was a little too silly goofy for me to enjoy it. Now, I love a silly goofy story. I can lean into the camp, and there were certainly elements of this that were campy, and I was enjoying it. I was laughing, I was tee-heeing and having a good time. However, there were other elements of this that's like, this is not silly goofy, this is just goofy. And that is especially true for the ending, because what the actual fuck was that? And like, anyone with more than half a brain cell would understand the flaw in that problem. Actually, a problem. See, that was a Freudian slip because it was supposed to be the solution. Now I just think you all are stupid. And that's not fun for anyone. And my final read is the one and only horror book that I read in January. This is We Used to Live Here. I thought I would really enjoy this because this is following Charlie. Now, what's her name? I don't know what this woman's name is. I don't know. But she's home and her partner is not. And this family shows up and knocks on her door and is like, hey, I used to live here. I would love to like give my family a tour of the house. My girl's a people pleaser. And despite her severe anxiety, she allows these people to come into her house. I would never. And I would argue that most women would fucking never. Can I come in? I think the fuck not, you trick ass bitch. No, like, anyway, she does, and her entire life falls apart from this point because this family is hella fucking weird, and so is the father of this family. He's hella fucking weird. Things spiral. We get very much into the conspiracy theory side of things. I can't spoil for you what it is, but I can tell you if you watch any amount of conspiracy theory, any kind of entertainment videos, you've heard of this theory. You understand what's happening almost immediately. While there certainly were unsettling elements of this story and things that I really enjoyed about it, ultimately I thought it was predictable, and I ended up getting annoyed with where the story went. And I was like, she should have murked that man when she had the fucking chance. And better yet, why would she have let them into her home? I don't know a single woman who fucking would ever. And that's it. Those were the books that I read in January. Let me know what your favorite book of January was, because I can already tell you we are at this point 5 days into February, and I have already found what is undoubtedly going to be one of my favorite books of the year. So I can't wait to hear about your reading in the comments below, and I will see you in my next video, which is hopefully a vlog. But thank you so much for your patience. As you know, my schedule is fucking crazy, but I always love hanging out with you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!